Hey, and welcome to Make a Mark Studios. I'm Miss V, artist and art teacher, and today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to build a 3D collage shadow box. Building a shadow box does require a lot of materials. You'll see them used throughout this video. These include foam core board to build your box, cardstock for making tabs, collage materials like old magazines and book pages, pencil, scissors, a craft knife, a glue stick, a hot glue gun, a self-healing cutting mat to protect your surface, and a mat cutter, which is optional. I also recommend using a roller and a T-square to get nice 90-degree angles on your box. Let's start by defining what is a shadow box. A shadow box is an artwork composed inside a 3D box. The composition is developed by suspending layers with varying depths inside the box. If you feel like you need more info after you watch this video, check out makeamarkstudios.com. I have a whole blog post about it. So let's get started. Step 1 is to mount the background. So I like to choose a cool background photo that has a lot of good depth. I cut the edges of my background so that the corners are 90-degree angles. And then I mount it onto a piece of foam core board. I'm going to be using a craft knife to cut any excess foam core board. When you're using a craft knife, always make sure you have a self-healing cutting mat underneath it. Make sure that you have a nice sharp blade to cut through your foam core board, and always be at a comfortable angle. Make sure that you're cutting away from your hand that's holding down the material that you're cutting. When I use an X-Acto to cut foam core board, I like to first do a slow and steady score line. A score on foam core board is a cut that doesn't go all the way through. What the score line does is it gives a nice pathway for your blade. When you do the second cut, you can push down a little more and create that final cut through the board. Step 2, we're going to start by cutting the side walls, so the left and right side of the box. So first, I get the measurement from top to bottom. I'm going to make my shadow box 3 inches deep. So I'm going to come in 3 inches. I'll use a roller to define that, and then I'll use a T-square to make a straight line. And then I'm going to cut the walls. Step 3 is to glue the side walls. Using my hot glue gun, I'm going to create an even line of glue, and I'm going to put it on the edge so that it's flush with the side. You'll notice that I hold it in place for a little bit so that I know it fully dries and it's going to stand up on its own. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side wall. Step 4 is to cut the top and bottom. For this, I like to measure the width of the bottom with the sides, and so I make sure that it's going to fit in really nice and even. This is also going to be 3 inches deep, so I'll use my roller and my T-square, and then I'll cut it out with my X-Acto, and I'll repeat that process for the other side. Step 5 is to glue the top and bottom. So I'll do the same process as before, where I add a thin, consistent bead of hot glue. But with this, I'm also going to make sure that I add it on the left and right side. I'll carefully glue that down in between the left and right side so that I get a bottom that's flush with the bottom of my shadow box. I'll repeat this same process to get the top wall of my shadow box built. Step 6 is fun. Here we're going to look for collage images. Some references I recommend are old record pamphlets. They have thick cardboard, and so the material has weight to it. Old magazine pages. Book sleeves are fantastic to add to your collage, and any other materials. You can also incorporate 3D materials like actual objects into your shadow box to make it really visually interesting. Step 7 is to cut your collage images. So here's an example of a girl that I've found and I cut out of a magazine. And what I'm doing right now is just cleaning up any details that I couldn't get with my scissors with my X-Acto, being really careful around those edges. For this particular image, I want to make sure that she's long enough to touch the top of my box and the bottom of my box. This takes a little customization, and so you'll have to figure out the exact measurement. Using a ruler might come in handy here. Step 8 is to create tabs. Tabs are little edges that will attach to our collage pieces so that we have an area where it can connect. Creating tabs is really helpful because it will connect your images that you've collaged to the surfaces and the edges of your shadow box. To create tabs, what we're going to do is use a piece of black cardstock paper, and to create that nice straight folded bed, I'm going to score it, which is cutting lightly so that it doesn't go all the way through, and then I'll fold the piece. On one side, I'm going to use a glue stick and attach my collage image to the tab. The other part is going to be where I put my hot glue so that it connects to the shadow box securely. Step 9, I'm going to continue to glue in my collage images. So here are some of my pieces that I'm going to be working with. And when we start to add in our collage elements, we want to work from back to front. You want to think about perspective whenever you do this. So things off in the distance are going to be smaller, and they're going to get larger as they come towards the viewer. As you glue, you want to be really patient, and you want to think about craftsmanship. You don't want to see excess glue. You want to try to limit that as much as possible. A little bit of hot glue will go a long way in securing your images to the surface. So this bird is a little flimsy, and so what I'm going to do is create little stacks of foam core board that I've glued together, and I'm going to hide that in between my bird and the girl, and this will just add a little more support. Step 10 is to cut out a frame, and so I'm going to measure out the length and width of my box on a piece of black cardstock. And then I'm going to measure in from all four sides about 1/2 inch. Once I have that measured, I'm going to use my X-Acto to carefully cut out my frame. And the final step is to glue the frame onto the box. The frame is really nice because it kind of just cleans up the visual presentation of the final box. I like to do one small bead of hot glue on one side, press it down, and then I add some glue to the left and right, and then I slowly add a little bit of glue to the last side. And here is my example of my finished 3D shadow box. I hope you found this video tutorial to be helpful. Feel free to subscribe for more videos from Make a Mark Studios, helping you to make your mark through art.